Okay, it's once again you and me. We get to drive across town. I'm in the Buick again, doing lots of things. I I will tell you, it my husband sent me this thing about a gathering, like a retreat that was happening, and it brought back all of these memories. And there was a retreat, and he said to me, "I'm sending you this article. I don't want you to go." Okay, that sounds great. What is it? And it's basically this thing in California, and it's about this confluence of alien conspiracy theorists and spiritual advisors. And they call it, oh gosh, I can't remember the word, but like, you put those two words together, spiritual and conspiracy, so it's conspiritual. And he's like, "Please don't go." And I'm like, well, gosh. So I said, I think I had enough of that when I was writing my thesis on AIDS. And he's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, interesting fact. When I was doing AIDS research in Brazil, you had to learn a lot about the culture, and you had to, because I was really looking at women with AIDS in Brazil, but I was really focused on how disease moved in a transit row. So you see disease move globally in trade routes. So anyway, random, on this particular trade route that I was researching was a huge grouping of what was then called a cult, but these were worshipers of the sun, and they had a lot of beliefs around aliens and worshiping and, star seeding, and that was like 30 years ago. So then I moved to Arizona, and they also had a sector that was very similar to that as well. And so you have a lot of people that worship the sun in lots of different ways. And so I'm reading the article, and I said, gosh, that would be so interesting to just hear what everyone has to say. And he's like, no, I don't want you to go. And I'm like, are you afraid of things? Now he is like super into space. We talk about space every day, probably. That he is looking at science information, and he's a science guy. That's his favorite topic is science, other than the band Yes. So what it reminded me about is how many times, I don't know, something can pop up into your life over and over again. And the idea of extraterrestrials does not feel weird to me. That there's a lot of things that are in this kind of universe of thought that I'm like, it's just another thing. It doesn't have to be my thing to be a thing. And I think that's the other thing that thing. So just because someone else has a belief about something doesn't mean that I need to, one, judge that belief. Two, I don't have to participate. I get to have my own set of beliefs. And it's okay that someone has a belief that's different than me. Like, we don't have to agree on everything. So, but what came to me out of that is how much people worry about other people's belief systems instead of looking at their own. And I said to him, "Are you saying that you don't believe that there is life on other planets?" And he's like, "Well, I don't think it's here and it looks like us." And I went, "Oh, okay. Well, these people do think that." So okay, and you just because you don't believe that people can communicate this way, just because you don't believe that plants are communicating with each other, doesn't mean they're not. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, look, this whole thing is alive. This whole world that we're in is alive. And it's all communicating. Like, it's all there is communication. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening, right? Like when the plant doesn't like living in front of the window, doesn't mean it's not talking to me. And he's like, well, but it doesn't talk to you like that. I said, I can look at it and pay attention to the fact that its leaves are unhappy. If you pay attention, the world is always talking to you. So yes, I bet there are a lot of people that are picking up vibes from a lot of different places, a lot of different things, a lot of different ways. Just because you aren't tuning that way doesn't mean that way isn't a possibility. So why am I bringing this up as we're driving across town? Why am I bringing this up? Because, there's a lot of things that people are listening to, and they're listening to them in a very addictive way, that they need that feedback. I go everywhere and everybody's in this short form content where they can only do something for 10 seconds. Like, you can only do a video for 10 seconds. Like the videos that I do of Nigel, the dog, they're 10 seconds long, because that's all that people have for anything. And so long form content, one, gives your brain so much more. Like, it's so much more. But when you start seeing all these short-term pieces of content that tell you that reality is in a different way than maybe you're actually living it, people stop listening. People stop listening to their communication form or to a higher communication form, and they focus in on this parasocial relationships, right? That they feel that they know these creators, that the person that is got YouTube content up like this, whoever's watching it, if they were in the car with you, they really feel like you were in the car with them. Like, remember when we were driving here? No, that you were watching my video. And part of the reason that I put up these days is because I ain't gonna be here forever. So for those of you who are my family who watch these, well, thank you. Thank you. You get to actually see what life is like in the Buick, and how really pretty dull it is to be someone in the world that believes in, I'm letting somebody go across here, being somebody in the world that believes in community, that believes in supporting community, being in community. And part of the reason that people are fatigued or not willing to kind of get in with other people is because of this belief system. Like, I don't know if they'll think the same way I do. Well, they're not going to. No one's going to think like you. That's why you're a big deal. And I'm stopping at stoplight, so I'm not driving right now. So, like, no one's going to believe like you do. That's okay. So people can have their own beliefs. It might be helpful for you to ask them about those and to just go, wow, that's interesting. What made you get there? Or how did you get there? I'm so far from there. I don't understand how you are there. And I don't want to go there, but I'm interested in your journey. And sometimes when we find out why people think the way they think, that it just makes you think sometimes, wow, that actually makes sense. Or sometimes, no, I don't see it that way at all. And it makes me fact check. There's a lot of times that people do not fact check for the purpose of actually gaining knowledge. Sometimes people are fact checking because they want a fact that allows them to hold their old belief. So, right, that this thing said something of oppositional to what that person said, and this oppositional thing stays with the values or the beliefs that I currently have, so I get to keep it as opposed to question it. And that really simple thing of not being tied to what you think you know, not being tied to how someone else thinks they know something, but to just allow. It's allow. So that's a day in the life for today. My husband was worried that I would go to some weird thing, and when it came down to it of why he was worried about that, he's like, please, I don't want you to go. And I said, why do you not want me to go? Like, what is the fear that you have about this? So much so, oh wow, oh, this tow driver is screaming at someone. He's just trying to do his job, and boy, he's just annoyed. Mr. Towing is just having a tough time right now. Anyway, why would he be worried about me going to that event? And he said, because the softness and the sweetness of you, of being willing to let everyone have their own beliefs, is completely frightening to him. He's worried. He's worried that someone will take me on their alien ship. Because I'll be like, oh, you have an alien ship? Oh, I should probably look at that. Can I bring my camera? So there's the day in the life. I'm not going to LA, and I'm not going to that conference, but another day.